So, y'all have been host parents for how many years now?
Since 1999.
It's a long time.
13 years.
So you think it has been getting better since you had more exchange students?
Absolutely. It's easier.
Yeah.
You don't make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
You make new mistakes, but everybody makes mistakes, so.
So you just make different ones?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So what is your overall idea about the rules you have with your exchange students?
The purpose of written rules, we present each student with a set of written rules, usually within 3 days after they get to our house. And the reason we do it is most of the kids have learned rules through the years with their own parents, but they have never lived with us before. They don't know how our family works. They don't know how we interact together or, anything like that. So it's better if you have them written down. And they're not so much strict rules as they are just rules to live by.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's just really simple stuff like make your bed in the morning, or no cell phone use after 10 o'clock, because in America most of the time there's curfews and stuff like that, and most parents don't want your kids calling each other after 10 o'clock at night. It's really basic stuff. It's the things that we live by, the things that our children have lived by, and the things that the other 14 or 15 exchange students that's lived with us have lived by.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
So how did y'all's rules change within the years? Did they get stricter or?
I don't think they've gotten stricter. They've gotten broader. With each student that we have, the rules will change. Not the basis of the rules, but we may add some rules. If a particular student is having a problem, maybe getting homework done in the afternoons after school, and they wait till Sunday night to do their homework, well then a new rule can be put in the list that says that your homework has to be done immediately after school.
And we'll review your homework. That way we know you're doing your homework. There's been students not so much at our house, but with we also do we're area reps, that they don't do their homework and they don't turn their homework in, and we've told them how to sit down with the student, go over their homework and things like that, and check it, and in some cases send a sign-in sheet to the teacher that proves that they take their homework in, and that way the parent sees that they've done it or not done it, whatever. The rules are not meant to be really restrictive, but we change the rules to fit the kid. We've got some kids that they come here. One of the big things is we don't allow you to stay in your room all the time. And one of the reasons you do that is you don't bond with the family if you're sitting in the room by yourself all the time.
Yeah.
And we try to make it, especially when they first get here, we restrict computer use, phone use. YFU recommends that you don't call home but once a month. We're not that restrictive, but we do restrict your contact with going back home, calling back home or emailing back home or Facebooking back home on a constant basis, because you don't really bond with the family if you're always on the computer or always on the phone. So that's one of the ways in our written rules, that's one of the ways that we get bonding to occur.
How strict are you about, if your exchange student does not live by the rules, what you guys do about that?
There's always consequences if you break rules.
Mm-hmm.
Just like life, if you don't do what you're supposed to in life, there are consequences for that behavior. And if you attend school and you don't follow the rules at school, there are consequences for that. You can have corporal punishment at school. We don't do corporal punishment here, but if you abuse your cell phone, if you break the rules with the cell phone, then you will lose your cell phone privileges. If you are on the internet or on your computer too much and you're not bonding and you're not doing what kids need to be doing, then you can lose computer privileges. If you don't make your bed, well...
Mom will fuss at you.
Yeah.
as far as consequences go, no, we don't beat the kids. And you know, the consequences are like she said, if it's cell phones, we make you give up your cell phone for a week. You break the rules about your cell phone, you give it up for a week, and if you don't learn from there, you lose it for a month. And then you're restricted to the amount who can come over or do what. You know, we try to fix the consequences where you learn quickly, and it's really not that restricted. Now, in the situations where you've got a student that will not obey rules, that sneaks out or does things that are not safe for themselves or for others, the first line of defense is always, once talk to the student. You know, sit them down and say, okay, this is the deal. You're breaking this rule, this rule, and this rule. And, you know, we've tried this and this and this. What do you propose we do? Or if you don't want to do that, we go to the area rep. And then after that, it just goes up the chain in YFU, and that's what you have to do. You know, we've kept students for 13 years. We've had 2 students that had to leave because of discipline problems. Yeah. And that's a pretty good average, because we've had, you know, between the kids that have lived with us, the kids that we've repped, and the ones that come in and out because we've moved them from different phones, there's been 40-something kids that have lived in our house for the last 13 years. And, you know, we've had 2. So I don't think it's the rules that are so restrictive. I don't think that they can't live by rules. I think that they just need to, there has to be consequences to what you do in life. And that's what we try to teach.
And we've learned from that too, because our expectations as American host parents are totally different than the expectations of an exchange student. When you came here, you weren't, and when Louisa came, y'all weren't expecting something like what you got here. You had totally different ideas about what went on in America. And we have different ideas about what goes on in y'all's countries. So our rules are applicable for our family, but if we don't communicate, and I think that's what it boils down to, is the communication. If we don't tell you why we have a rule or what the reason is behind it, then it can be very confusing, because your family may not operate that way. And because ours does, then it works easier for us. But you have to talk to your kids all the time, just like your parents talk to you all the time, and you're our kid while you're here, in more sense than just an exchange student. But we probably talk you to death sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, shaking your head, yes.
Yeah. Do you think it could work without rules? Like having no rules at all?
The families that we've encountered that don't do rules are always the parents that seem to have the most trouble with the kids. And it's not so much that they have to be restrictive rules, they just have to be explanations about why and how you do things here in America. You know, we hate to say it, but a lot of times the worst offenses are the most minor offensive. The things that really get to somebody, you know, little bitty things. You know, Donna's pet peeve, or the most minor rule we have is make your bed every day, but it's the one that drives her the craziest if you don't do it. Now, if you explain that kind of thing to the student when they get here, you might not have to have written rules, but they have to be aware that there are rules. If you don't have rules, you have chaos. Mm-hmm. And that's the way mankind lives. Mankind lives by having rules and regulations to control the population. And even a family, all families have rules. Most families don't have written rules because the kids learn by osmosis. They learn through their lifetime. This is what we have to do to survive in our family.
When you're 2 years old and you pick up something that you're not supposed to have, your mom probably slapped your hand for it. And when you come here and you're 15 to 18, we're not going to slap your hand when you do something that you're not supposed to do. We hope that we tell you ahead of time that you can't do that. But if you take your cell phone to school and you send a text during school, well, that's a school rule for one thing. You're not supposed to use your cell phone at school. But we're not going to slap your hand for it. We're going to do something different. We may add a rule in our rules that say that you can't use your cell phone at school. But it's what you grew up with from the time you were born until the time your parents put you on that plane to come live with a new family. You grew up with a set of expectations that are totally different than what we have here.
And what we try to do too when a student gets here, when we go over, like we say, we give a student 3 days typically when they get here. For 2 days you're a guest, the third day you're part of the family, and this is what we do. And we'll go over the rules and we'll say, do you understand? Is there something that you disagree with? And then we'll negotiate and we'll figure out, well, yeah, we can do something different here, or no, this is the reason why we have to do this. You know, there's, you know, like European students, most European students can go hang out till midnight later during the week, and you know, they do different things. But the thing is, in the United States, especially like in Seminole, Texas, at 11 p.m., anybody under age 17 that's not at home, if they're caught out on the street after 11 o'clock, they get arrested and their parents get called to come get your little kid. So you don't just hang out like they do in Europe and places like that. And see, we understand that rule, but a lot of the kids don't understand it when they first get here. Well, y'all are being mean to me. Y'all won't let me do this and this and this. Well, this is the reason we don't let you do this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
Our job as host parents is something you said the other day. Our job as host parents is to provide shelter, provide food, and provide love for that student. And that's, if you're not doing that, you're not really being a family.